Hey, welcome everybody. Todd McFarlane back again for another art lesson. This one will be slightly different in what we're going to do. Instead of me sort of teaching you how to draw something specifically, I'm just going to sort of show you a behind the scenes of how it is that I do my work, which is different than me giving you an art lesson. So let's begin. What you're going to see here is a page from a comic book called Haunt. It's written by Robert Kirkman, world's renowned writer for Walking Dead, and now a very famous Hollywood dude. As his show is doing fantastic on AMC. We're quite proud of him at Image Comics. And this page is drawn by Greg Capullo, who I believe is the best artist currently working in comic books right now in America. So, as you can see, at this size right here, you're probably saying to yourself, Todd, looks like it's pretty good. Anybody can ink that page. And to some degree, the answer is yes. But what we're going to show you is how we get into some of the final looks of it. If we go very big, you're going to see here that what looked like a tight drawing all of a sudden starts to get very muddy. The hand here, the leg, the wrinkles of the clothes here, the woman sitting here with her hair, everything's starting to sort of run into each other, even the face of this guy. You know, that we get the big eyes, we get the wrinkles, but there's still a lot of mud that's on the face and nothing is quite defined, although all the information's there. So here's what happens when I go about doing my business. First thing I do is I lay in some white on top of the things that I'm going to do a re-inking from head to toe. And once you put in the white, you can go over here and you can slide it down so that you get what looks like tracing paper. And as you can see, the further I slide it, the more the tracing paper becomes see-through. So we'll put it right up in here. And then what I do is that I've got some of the places I'm going to begin inking. I also then hit and lay in some of the black. So first thing I want to do is I want to lay in the blacks. Why? Because it gives me a bit of a framing of where it is that the bulk of the shadows or that the weight of this page is going to be here. So I give myself the blacks and I lay those in there, and you can see in a couple of these I've put some white on top of it, just like up over here. Next, I'll come in here and I want to add even more black because I want this page to be sort of a little moody because it's a nighttime shot, and I'll lay a second piece in here. As you can see, sometimes I lose track of where my borders or my pages are, or my layers are, excuse me, and I'll do the inking. So for instance, in this one, here's a guy jumping out of the window, and it's on this layer here that is basically coming in here and adding a bunch of lines to tighten up this face that otherwise, like I said, when it's off, is a little gritty. You know, a couple of lines for the stubs. I make sure that I add 50 lines for it. You can see the shape of the hair. There's, you know, an outline of silhouette that Greg has given us, and my job is to come in here and just add the detail of it and cut the whites on it. So we've got that piece going in there. Now I begin to add the inks, and then watch this page here. Once I add a big portion of my inks, as you can see, it really begins to pop. So let's go in close again, take a look at that face that we had talked about, and if I go in and out, you're going to see now that instead of it being a lot of the lines that look a lot the same, my job is to now go in there and make it just a little bit thicker in spots, and to give it a nice framing device, and to make sure that even though it's a little bit soft at this size, once you get down to this size, all the faces and all the rendering look pretty good. Then when I get here, you can then go to small stuff. For instance, this girl screaming. Here's some more additional inks off and on. You can see, you know, a couple lines in the hair there. I can come in there and add 5 or 6, and that's going to shrink down a lot. Then we take some of the black areas that are the blobs, and if we go in here, you'll be able to see it better. Boom, I can put in all the white, and the white gives me a lot more detail of what it is that I'm looking for. So there's the detail on the white. And if I want to add a little more depth, let's say the back wall here, I'm going to do a little bit of cross hatching because I don't want this to basically interfere with the black of the blob. So we've got the cross hatching. And then lastly, the thing that I'll do is, let's say on some of the building, if you look down here, I'll take straight lines and I'll make sure those lines get a little bit dark. So, and then at the end of it, we will make sure that we clean it all up, and we'll color it, and I'll show you the color in a moment. But let's just walk through it. We got the pencils. We lay in our tracing paper on top of it. We begin doing some of the inks and doing all the cross-hatching, giving some body. We add some of the weight of the black, frame it up to make sure that it feels good and moody. Add some more additional, put the highlights on top of the blacks right here. Add some more black with some more inks and do the cross hatching and finally the last shapes. And when we're done with all that, we hand it off to the colorist and we give it over to the colorist. The colorist will then take the pages, and here's what the final page looks like. We've got the white borders all around it, and as you can see, we've now framed off all the color, added some cool veiny stuff up in here, and all the details there, plus we get the addition of the color, and we have our ghost hero jumping through magically through the window, and the human has to jump through the window, but he's going to break it, and his girlfriend's screaming because he's going to jump 20 stories to his death. But that's not how comic books work. So anyways, thanks for joining us. Thought I'd give you a little bit of a tidbit, and this is what happens on every page of a comic book that we go through. Thanks. Bye.